Major League Baseball has pulled the All-Star game away from this great city right here in Atlanta in response to Georgia laws that are potentially voter suppression laws for the state of Georgia. I mean, SB 202 was signed by Brian Kemp with restrictions on voting by mail and more legislative control over how the elections are run. So, I mean, they also put in a piece to prohibit volunteers from distributing food and water to the voters that are waiting in line.
Yeah.
It was like, I mean, you're making a push to cut the mail-in ballots, which we all know are majority Democrat votes. So you have Republicans like, all right, we need to get rid of those.
Right.
And I think it's a great move for the MLB. I mean, it sucks for the city that the All-Star game isn't here, but I mean, it's something that the MLB they needed to do. They took quick action and they relocated that thing.
Right.
And the MLB needs just the state of Georgia needs to be held accountable for that.
Right. I agree with you. And it's a really sticky situation for Rob Manfred because you start to wonder, is he ever truly set up for success? Like, you look at the COVID season going back and forth between him and the Players Association, and honestly, that was just BS from the jump. And just seeing overall how he's handled the league within the last few seasons, and I'll get into some specifics here in a second, but you look at the main quote that he came out with and saying, I've decided that the best way to demonstrate our values as a sport is by relocating this year's All-Star game and MLB draft. And the reason it's good is because they already have a bad rep. I mean, you look at, he might be one of the worst commissioners of professional sports. Love the NFL, but Roger Goodell's garbage. He might be right up there with him in terms of just how the league actually handles reprimandations and adversity that try to just surge into the league. And then also as well, there's no backbone. There's no leadership out of Rob Manfred. So this was something he had to leap forward and do, because here's how it is. You already have your bad rep on one end, and people are already going to look down on you at that way. So if you don't make the decision, now you're just going to get even more of a bad rep, and now you're not going to be supporting something that Major League Baseball, they were one of the first professional sports leagues to say, hey, let's set up voting. Like, before the NFL got on it, before the NBA got on it, like, they were pushing the voting to where they could basically establish it and just have whatever it could have been to get everybody involved, because you know how important it's becoming. So if he doesn't do it, then, you know, like I said, he's just going to get all this backlash. His rep's going to be worse. But then he does, then you have the city pissed off at you. But overall, it is a good move because it's something that had to happen. You look at the rep of Rob Manfred. I mean, and the reason people are going to say, you know, it's tough is because you look at how, and it's kind of unfair to say it, but this is what people are going to look at: recency bias, prisoners of the moment. You look at how he didn't punish the Astros. Then you look at his piss poor punishments on players. And then now he's going to go and strip the Braves of something that they had no control over, which is why you can't necessarily sit there and put all your emotion into it, because it was all in Manfred's hands. It was out of the city's hands. Manfred had to make the decision because Georgia made that decision. They're not going to go back on what they just did, like I said, being one of the first sports leagues out there to actually implement voting. So it was a double-edged sword. He was going to be damned if he did or damned if he didn't. But overall, it was a move, like we both said, it had to happen, because if you don't, you're just going to be that much worse. MLB's already hard to watch. It's already boring as hell. Nobody really watches until October comes around. Like, I don't watch unless I'm at the game or it's the postseason. And I'm really not watching probably until the CS or the World Series. Like, let's just be honest. Then if you're having this...
That's more than me.
There you go. Then if you have this, considering what the world's going through, considering all the voting, considering the change of the presidency, he had to act. Because if he didn't, I mean, I think we're potentially talking about seeing Rob Manfred on the hot seat as the commissioner, because he's already been on the hot seat by a lot of people. And he might not have been really up to lose his job, but he knows, and a lot of people looking deep into this, he knows he had to make that decision. Even if it did cost Atlanta $100 million to local businesses, which sucks. That really does suck. But unfortunately, not even unfortunately, at the end of the day, you got to decide what's right. Is it money, or is it fixing a problem that we've continued to have? And Major League Baseball is going to stick to their morals. Finally, they're finally going to stick to their morals and say, hey, we're moving it. So
they don't need to blame Major League Baseball for the $100 million.
Right.
Blame Kemp.
Right. There you go.
He did this.
There you go. Exactly.
All those businesses need to get recouped from them. Whatever money you projected, like, put together a plan, like a grant proposal. Like, y'all need to pay them the money that they were supposed to be getting for having the All-Star game.
Right.
I think it was a very good move.
Right.
I've seen a ridiculous narrative talking about the MLB stripped a city that's like, I think it said something like 51% black-owned businesses that would have gotten this money, to send it to a place that only has like 9%. But those numbers have nothing to do with why the decision was made. It just so happened that Atlanta and Colorado are very differently made up, just on just on who lives in each place.
Exactly. And that's where people are going to weigh into it with emotion. And in a way, ironically, if you get what I'm saying, because Atlanta, obviously, like, there are black people in Atlanta. There's no doubting that. Like, Atlanta is an iconic place. It's here for hip hop, for the clubs, like for the bars. Like, Atlanta is an iconic place. Knowing that voting and with the suppression laws is already, like, it's already progressing along. If you don't make a move for a city like that, it's just going to be that much worse. So I agree with you. People shouldn't be looking at it, oh, they took it away from, black businesses and putting it over here. No, they're sticking to their morals. It's just unfortunate that those are, basically the data that's presented to us. Don't feed all of your emotion into it, because at the end of the day, like I said, he's damned if he did or if he didn't. It was a tough situation to make, but I think finally Major League Baseball made the right one. Yes, Atlanta's out of $100 million, but oh well, you shouldn't have implemented the voting laws. Like you said, bro, it falls back on who made the decision. Don't want to get into that aspect, but you're totally right about that.